Hello, welcome to Trend Tuesdays with AngelouEconomics. My name is William Mellor, and today I'm going to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while, which is the question, do natural disasters cause or create economic growth? Looking right now what's happening in Kīlauea in Hawaii, and of course what happened in 2017 with hurricanes Harvey and Irma and others, often natural disasters are followed by periods of heightened economic activity. So as economists, how do we feel about that? Is it good? Is it bad? Somewhere in between? My personal opinion is that while it's good that we do have on the other side of a disaster some economic growth and recovery that happens, there are really better ways to get that economic growth that happens without having to go through all of the turmoil that you get from a natural disaster. So, but let's start with Texas. So. The final GDP numbers just came out for the fourth quarter of 2017, and Texas led the nation, the highest GDP growth in the country with 5.2% growth. Given that Houston was hit so hard by Hurricane Harvey, and Houston is second only to Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, especially in the state of Texas, how did Texas do so well? How was Texas able to come out on top? So, as cities rebuild, there are certain industries, particularly construction, that will see increased production. We saw this in the GDP numbers for Texas. Construction was the second highest performing sector within the economy, second only to oil and gas. So it's reasonable to assume that some amount of rebuilding caused some economic growth that led Texas to lead the nation in terms of GDP growth. So that's great, but here's the thing to remember. GDP growth coming from natural disasters is not the same and should not be treated the same as GDP growth that comes about from other means such as technological or commercial advancement. So increased production doesn't actually push the economy forward. It really only gets us back to where we started before the natural disaster occurred. Economist Donald Boudreaux said it best. He's an economist with George Mason University. He said it best in an article to the New York Times when he said, society is not made wealthier by destroying resources. And I think he's right. But you might say that, well, when we rebuild infrastructure, we don't just rebuild to get back to where we started. We're going to rebuild using the newest technological advancements, means, methods, materials. And so that makes us more productive, not just in the short term, but actually for many decades to come. But in this scenario, we rebuilt, and yes, we did end up with new infrastructure that was more technologically advanced, but you still only end up with one set of infrastructure, or one set of goods or services, or whatever it is that you rebuilt or repurposed. In the other scenario, when you've not diverted resources away from other means, you end up with many sets of infrastructure, goods, services, what have you, and all of those are built with the newest technological means, methods, and materials, and you've also got to keep the old. So, it's not just getting back where we started, but without the disaster, you would have been much better off as a society, even if you do end up with more productive infrastructure from rebuilding. So, but of course, none of this accounts for all of the people and all of the families who had their lives upended and they lost everything. And I think sometimes as economists, we're not always very good at accounting for that human impact. And that's something that we should definitely be more cognizant of. Some people lost everything, and to those people, a new technologically advanced bridge is really no consolation at all. But in the beginning of the video, I said there's a better way, and that better way is really, if we want new infrastructure, technologically advanced infrastructure, we should prioritize it, and we should fund it, and we should build it, and we shouldn't wait for the next natural disaster to come along to be able to fund those things or to then rebuild what you lost. So what do you think? Economic booms on the other side of disasters, good, bad, somewhere in between? Comment below, let us know. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Tuesday.